Today's video isn't about tips for being a better dungeon master or a better player, previews or reviews of upcoming Kickstarters, amazing whiskey, or board game reviews or playthroughs. Today, we'll be talking about a serious subject, how board games and games like D&D can help your mental health. I am not a mental health professional. Any opinions or thoughts on this subject are solely based upon my own experience or the experiences of my followers and friends on Blue Sky and Discord. If you are in a mental health crisis, please contact your doctor, dial 988 here in the United States, or if needed, call 911. Help is always available if you need it, so please talk to someone. Let me tell you a little about my history regarding mental health. I have dealt with depression and mental health issues for roughly the last 30 years, if not longer. Thankfully, in my early 20s, I was able to get the help I needed, as well as tips and tricks to use if the issues started to arise again. I still deal with mental health issues, but those tips and tricks and support from those around me usually help keep them at bay. Over the last 2 years, due to severe chronic pain issues caused by a degenerative disease called DISH and other things like severe arthritis, these issues will pop up more often. However, due to how the VA handles mental health issues now, which is tremendous, help is just a phone call away, and I know I can make that call and see a therapist or other professional without being judged. Also, and most importantly, I have a loving and supporting wife that understands what I'm going through and does everything she can to help, along with a tremendous support system of family and friends. Thankfully, mental health is not the stigma that it once was. We have started to pay more attention to how important mental health is, and great strides have been made in terms of treatment, especially when it comes to understanding how playing games affects mental health. There have been many studies done specifically regarding how playing games like Dungeons & Dragons improves mental health and acuity. Links to a couple of them are in the description, but if you Google D&D and mental health, you will see just how many studies there are, especially since the pandemic of 2020. I don't need to read a study to tell you how D&D and board games affects mental health. I have lived this experience over the last 7 years. In 2018, my life drastically changed, by my choice. I found myself on my own, and my mental health issues started to arise again, stronger than I had been in 20 years. I did find that rewatching my favorite TV shows and movies, such as The Goonies, all the Star Trek TV shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The West Wing, Back to the Future trilogy, and of course, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter, brought me some relief and comfort. Studies have shown that rewatching favorite shows and movies provide a sense of the familiar, comfort, and reduces loneliness, link in the description. While this helped, it wasn't a total cure. I found I was missing human contact, being in the presence of others, and I don't mean at work or at a bar. It was at this point that I found a wonderful show on YouTube, Tabletop with Will Wheaton. I'd always been a fan of board games. My youth was full of games, Monopoly, Risk, Scotland Yard, etc. But this show was about modern board games, games that were more than just moving pieces around the board, rolling dice, and the winner was usually the player that was the luckiest. These games involve strategy, in-depth mechanics, and more interaction with the players than the games from the 80s did. I was hooked. I started an Amazon wishlist of the games that Will and his friends played that I thought I would enjoy, and working in IT, I was sure some of my coworkers and friends would be interested too. Thus, my monthly game night was born. Once every 3 to 4 weeks, I would invite 3 to 5 friends over and we'd play games like Munchkin, Red Dragon Inn, Suro, Betrayal at House on a Hill, all while enjoying food and games, of course. It was a blast. I looked forward to these game nights and found we talked about what happened during these games for days, if not weeks after. It was just what I needed. Will Wheaton, if you happen to be watching this, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tabletop was a lifesaver, kept me sane, and reintroduced me to a hobby I had long been away from, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Because of you, my friends and I have spent hundreds of hours sitting at tables, trying to escape from haunted houses, trying to be the last ship standing in a sea of dragons, and kicking down the door, hoping not to find a level 20 dragon. During a specific rough patch, in terms of my mental health, I started hosting weekly game nights. Every few weeks just wasn't cutting it. Thankfully, the list of friends that wanted to play my game nights was large, so I was able to rotate out players weekly. And again, my friends were able to pull me out of my funk. In June of 2019, I had surgery to fix my deviated septum and was up all night in pain. And sadly, during that night, my grandmother had fallen and passed away. The next day, I knew what I needed. I desperately needed a game night. I called my buddies up for a no-notice game night. They came. Many laughs were had. Each laugh from me was excruciating due to the surgery. But, just like before, it was the exact remedy I needed to help my grief, even if just for a few days. Sitting around a table playing a board game with friends is something I absolutely love. Out of all the board game mechanics, I prefer cooperative games as I like working in a team to complete an objective, which is one thing I love about Dungeons & Dragons. Back in early 2019, one of my coworkers that took part in some of my game nights, a guy named Dave, was starting a new D&D campaign and asked if I would like to join. Over the years, I had played in some one-shots, but hadn't played D&D in a campaign in many years. I jumped at the chance. After that first game, I knew D&D was going to be in my life forever. The storytelling, the adventure, the cooperation, it is all everything I love. We would play weekly up until the pandemic in 2020. We were a party that loved shenanigans. Dave the DM rolled with all the punches, and it was a wonderful time. In late 2019, I decided I wanted to try my hand at being a DM. So in February 2020, I started my own campaign. That sadly lasted 4 sessions because of the pandemic. Flash forward to 2021. I moved back to Connecticut. We lived in a small apartment, and all my games and D&D supplies were in storage, so there were no game nights, and I couldn't find a D&D game to join. I managed to play in a few one-shots, playtesting a D&D supplement being released by our friendly local game store, but it took about 8 months to find a weekly game to join. We still play that game with my friend Bo as a DM, but now it is bi-weekly, and we are on our 3rd campaign. I also started running my own game again in 2022, and that campaign is still going strong. After starting playing board games in D&D again, but then having to stop either due to the pandemic or because of the move, was a gut punch. I didn't realize just how much my mental health depended on these regular games until they weren't so regular anymore. I can honestly say that board games and Dungeons & Dragons do help keep the mental health issues under control. I find myself looking forward to playing, and the people at the table have become great friends. Hell, I even started the Laughing Tavern with my DM, player, and friend, Bo. And now, I've been doing a YouTube channel for just over a year, talking about D&D and board games, and it has brought me tremendous joy, even though it's a lot of work. Enough about me. I reached out to my followers on Blue Sky and friends on a couple Discord servers, asking for examples of how D&D and board games affected their mental health. The responses were amazing. Community was one of the key points in many messages. We as humans desire community. It is deeply ingrained in us. We are social animals, not designed to be alone. So, being part of a community with common interest goes a long way to helping with mental health. The more isolated you become, the worse your mental health will probably be. Having a scheduled game night helps as well. If you are having a dark day but no game night is tomorrow, it just may help get you past the darkness. To that point, I remember Matt Mercer on an episode of Between the Sheets, which you cannot find on YouTube anymore for a good reason, talking about a letter they received during the early days of Campaign 1 of Critical Role. It was from a viewer who was in an extremely dark place and were thinking about ending it all. They said they just happened to turn on Critical Role on Twitch and found themselves sucked into the story. When the episode was over, this person, instead of doing something they were seriously considering just a few hours before, decided to wait and see what happened in the next episode of Critical Role. Eventually, the person got out of the darkness, in no small part because of a group of nerdy-ass voice actors playing Dungeons & Dragons. I got introduced to Critical Role in 2019, and since then have fell in love with the entire cast, their characters, and their stories. There have been times when watching an early episode of Campaign 1 or 2 is just what I need to stop myself from sinking into a dark place. Matt Mercer, Marisha Ray, Taliesin Jaffe, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, Ashley Johnson, Liam O'Brien, and Sam Regal, along with the entire crew of Critical Role. Thank you so much. I am sure that over the last 10 years, many people have used your content as a source of comfort to make themselves smile and laugh, cheer and cry, but also to find the will to continue on and leave the darkness. Because after all, is it Thursday yet? And we all know the story always continues next Thursday. Not wanting to play in your scheduled game or losing interest in those games can be a red flag, an indicator that your mental health may need to be addressed. This goes for anything, not just games. If you find yourself suddenly losing interest in something that you couldn't wait to do and always look forward to, take a look at your mental health. Are you sad or upset about something? Has something changed in your life that is making you concerned? If so, talk to someone about it. A spouse, a family member, a friend, a professional. Catching mental health issues when they start is much better than trying to fix them after a few months or years. Escapism was mentioned from the community as well. We sit at a table to roll dice, pretend to be heroic characters, or to forget what is bothering us, even if just for a few hours. You never know what someone has going on in their life, and that these few hours may be the only time they get not to worry about it. There's a reason why I don't have politics in my D&D games. We get enough of that in the real world, no one will ever agree, so why have that in a game? Dealing with real-world issues in-game has also helped people. Sometimes you can face the issue in-game as your character, and it will help you figure out how to face it in real life. Also, sometimes you can learn a lesson such as, if you do nothing, nothing happens. So you know that you won't get better by sitting idly by. You have to fight. You have to do something. There's also the benefit that sitting at a table and interacting will help you become more social or not as anxious. I know for me it definitely helped with social anxiety. Being a DM especially has helped with that. As a DM, you can't hide behind the screen and be passive or shy. You are at the forefront of the night, everyone waiting on you and what you have to say. As a player, you can be passive and shy, and if that's what you're looking for, that's fine. However, the more you interact with the other players, the DM, and the story, the better the time spent at the table becomes. You don't have to, of course, but that's the beauty of a game of D&D. You play the character in the game how you want to play it. I'm not saying that board games or games like D&D are the cure to the mental health crisis we face. They are simply tools that can possibly help individuals. When it comes to mental health, there is no one cure for all. What works best for me may not work best for you. Medication may be needed for one person, whereas sitting around a table playing D&D is all another person needs. The next time you are sitting around a table playing a game, look at the people sitting with you. Realize that each of you are probably sitting at the table for different reasons. And these reasons can change daily. We never know what someone else is dealing with. So do what you can to make that experience at the table the best it can be for each person. Those hours at the table may be the only time one person laughs all week. Those hours at the table may be the one and only time the person left the house all week, because they work from home, have groceries delivered, and have no reason to leave their house except for game night. Those hours at the table may be the only time one person feels safe, because their home life is not. When we gather at a table, all should be welcomed, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, race, religious, or political beliefs. It is at the game table where we can come together as a group, laugh at the shenanigans, cheer at the successes, cry at the failures, but most important of all, just be present with each other. We as a community can help keep people out of the darkness and lift them out of that same darkness if they should fall. No one is alone when they are at a table playing a game with family and friends. As mentioned before, If you need someone to talk to, help is available. Contact your doctor, dial 988, dial 911 if needed. Hell, if you need someone to talk to, look in the description for my social media and email addresses. I am always willing to listen. Just reach out to me via one of those. Always remember, you are stronger than you think. Nothing is impossible to overcome, and you are not alone. Please like and subscribe and share this link. You just never know which of your friends may need to hear the message in this video. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Subjects like this are never easy to talk about, but they should be. I want to thank everyone that has ever played a game at my table, or allowed me to play a game at theirs, along with my family, friends, and of course the biggest supporter I have, my wife. Each of you has shown me kindness, understanding, friendship, and love, all of which has made a tremendous difference in my life. As always, be nice to each other, accept each other, and love each other.